Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, a podcast that covers the entire multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I almost bumbled my way through that intro again for the second week in a row.
Did you keep last week's intro in?
I kept yours in.
Yeah.
I'm slowly deteriorating, but I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Courtney. And Courtney, this is an episode adjacent to the one you've been wanting to do.
It's the best trade out I can get. I'll take it.
So our main topic this week being that the Marvel Netflix shows has finally made their way to Disney Plus. We have decided to save you the light work and rank them all and just tell you which ones are worth checking out, which ones are not so much.
Man.
Which are worth rewatching if you haven't rewatched them in a while, and then went to Netflix one day and were like, hey, I really want to rewatch Daredevil, and then it's not there.
Yeah.
It took a hiatus for what were they off for a month?
I believe it was roughly a month, and then we'll talk about the future of some of these characters and the lack thereof of a future for some of these characters. I do believe that every single last one of them will come back in some capacity on Disney Plus.
I think I agree with that, but we'll elaborate. But first, the news. And man, we were nervous.
Yeah, it was about 2:00 in the afternoon. I kept checking my phone, didn't see anything, and then Sorry, I've been on an Oscar flow, and I've been watching a lot of Dune clips today, so he was on my brain. But Christopher Nolan said, "Hey man, we know you guys need to record this episode today, so here's some more Oppenheimer casting."
Yeah, so Alex Wolff has been casted.
Yes, Alex Wolff of my childhood has been casted.
Yeah, so, again, just an absurd cast list.
Yeah. Do you work in Hollywood? Have you been in a movie recently? Do you want to be an Oppenheimer?
They can't even fit everyone from the movie, in a single tweet when they're like, so-and-so has joined the cast, including this person and this person. But they can't fit literally everybody that we've talked about over the last, 7 or 8 weeks.
I know DVDs are, I guess, going through the wayside and will never, I guess, won't be a thing in, 20, whatever. But you know how, on the back, it has, all the cast? It's gonna be the longest cast I've ever seen for, the back of a DVD it's gonna be awesome.
Outside of Cillian Murphy, who's top billing in this movie?
It's gotta be Matt Damon and RDJ, and Emily Blunt are probably the top 4. And I'm assuming Emily Blunt would probably be the second because it's his wife, and then it would be Matt Damon, if I were to guess. I think that's where we're going. I just need to know where they're going to credit the nuclear bomb. That's the credit.
Oh, that's actually David Dalsham.
Oh, I thought. Oh man, I was going to say it was Andy Serkis. You beat me by 1 second.
He's actually playing the nuclear bomb. It's a stage play.
It is a stage play. Yeah, Oppenheimer being because musicals are in right now. That would be amazing. Oppenheimer the musical.
But yeah, it feels like given
the most destructive force brought to Broadway.
Oh man, they should hire you. But
they should also hire Andrew Garfield. Where's Andrew Garfield's casting in this movie? That's what I'm waiting for.
He's too busy doing detective movies on Hulu.
That looks incredible. That looks really good.
But it feels like maybe finally we're getting to the end of this Oppenheimer casting because it took till 5 hours ago for the latest person to drop. So
right, and we got some set photos from today as well.
Yeah, so this might be our last Oppenheimer casting for the foreseeable future. Unless someone gets replaced.
Yeah. Get us to the premiere, please. Support us any way you can. Tweet. Who's the new studio that he's with now? Is he with Paramount now?
Yeah. Universal?
Universal, yes. Tweet Universal to the end of the day. Get us to the premiere. I want to stand next to the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, take a picture with it. Some more casting news. It's a triple header of casting news. Christopher Lloyd, the Doc, is going to be in The Mandalorian season 3.
I don't care what he does or who he is. It's going to be great. I don't care what it is. I love it. One of the grandfathers of movie sci-fi. Get him in Star Wars.
It's good to see Christopher Lloyd still acting. Good to see Christopher Lloyd still alive.
Thank God.
Because I saw that news and I was like, wait.
Yeah, I got nervous. I saw the picture first and I said, please don't. I just watched Back to the Future within the last 2 weeks too. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's something that, in terms of sci-fi and just, movie making as a whole, it's just some of my favorites. So thank you, Robert Zemeckis, for that movie. Alan Silvestri's score is also phenomenal. And Christopher Lloyd, he's amazing. He's just eccentric in everything he does. So I wonder if he's going to be like a name character or just, quick one episode character.
I think
we'll
that's
see.
probably what it's going to be. I mean, we saw this with more so, I think, in season 1, where it was like kind of like name actors doing a thing for like one episode. But they had that episode. I mean, Bill Burr's character ended up becoming kind of a bigger deal as season 2 rolled around. But that was kind of what season 1 was like, hey, look who's here for this episode. And then they were gone. So I think that's probably what it's going to be. Maybe he'll do some type of like quirky Doc Brown-esque kind of character like in the Star Wars universe.
That'd be fun. Yeah, he's going to really let his character, his nature as an actor show, which is going to be great.
Yeah. So our third bit of casting news is Sydney Sweeney has been cast in the Madam Web movie. Yay.
Cool. So
good actor.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney are gonna helm this movie. That's about all we got. The tagline that we've got for this movie is that this is Sony's Doctor Strange, that's a bold statement to make.
I love Sony's confidence.
Their confidence is amazing.
Remember when they moved Venom up?
Yeah, they did. They said, "Oh, you don't think we can compete? Get this timeline moved up." What were they competing against? Was it Dune or was it something else?
It might have been Dune, because then we did those episodes pretty close to each other.
Yeah, we definitely did.
Confidence.
Gotta love it.
Now Morbius is coming out in 2 weeks, or a little less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna see it before we record, obviously, but yeah, we're gonna. So next week, jumping the gun a bit, we're gonna do the Oscars next week. We're going to wear suits and we're going to do the Oscars. And then we're going to do Morbius. So, like, both ends of the spectrum of what we do.
And then we're going to do Sonic.
And then we're going to do Sonic. So we're going to get super pretentious next week, and then we're going to get super mean the week after, and then we're going to have a whole lot of fun the week after.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Versatility is our middle name.
Speaking of versatility, Avatar 2 is looming. It's happening.
Yes,
reportedly the trailer for Avatar 2 is going to be in front of Doctor Strange.
Yes.
So in case you weren't excited enough about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, now you have the sequel to what was the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah. And then you can probably tack on a Thor trailer to that Doctor Strange 2 as well. So we're going to get a lot of content coming up soon. We might have to... Listen, if that Thor trailer is good enough, we might need to do a combo episode for Morbius, because I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Avatar 1, like you said, is one of the biggest movies ever, and at the time, it was the biggest movie ever before we were in the MCU era of movie making. But
it took Endgame. Look, let's be clear. It took Endgame a very interesting re-release to beat Avatar in the box office.
Did we see the re-release together, or did it? I think we saw
I don't think we saw it together.
I forgot who I saw it with, but we looked at each other and we were like, all right, cool, because it's Endgame in the third act, but also I didn't need to see a really, like a non-rendered Hulk save somebody from a building, and then my man from Family Matters was there. I said, this is what I paid an extra $13 for to see.
Yeah. So look, for those of you who don't understand what's going on with Avatar, you will. Yeah.
Trust me, that trailer's going to be one of those that's probably going to shut down the internet, because I mean, we were talking before about like when we were younger and this movie came out. I'll never forget like the stranglehold that, and this is from like a younger kid perspective. So it's good that we have,
I think a senior in high school, or a little bit, maybe I was out of high school by then. Yeah, I was out of high school, because that's 2012, right?
2008.
Oh, 2008. Yeah. So I was a senior in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, you were a senior in high school. I was not a senior in high school. I was a child. I was a child back then, and when I was that child, I just remember, because I remember the one episode we were talking about like our backgrounds and what we do, and how I was watching like, you know, a lot of these bigger movies and like these cult classic movies when I was younger, and Avatar came along, and like that was just reran throughout my house after it came out on DVD. It's just the world it immerses you in is just, it's inspired and it's intentional, and you really fall in love with everybody in there. And I think the emotional core of that movie is really what makes it for me. So combining that with this whole nostalgia era that we're sitting in right now might play really well. I promise you, when that trailer comes out, it's going to be like, we're going to live that world again. And I think we can use a little bit of that.
Yeah. And people are like, Avatar, who cares? You'll see.
Yeah.
Like the detractors will be made aware of how massive this this thing is going to be.
Yeah, it is funny. The Jurassic World trailer came out during the Super Bowl, and like people got excited. It was like number one. I think it was just number 2 trending on YouTube, and the only reason was because of Doctor Strange. Was the only reason it wasn't number 1, and it was racking views. Like it was really racking up views. And I said, if that's what we get for Jurassic World, you just wait what we're gonna get till we get this Avatar trailer in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's one of the things. What is that noise?
It's dark outside. Why are you mowing your lawn?
All right. Anyway, but yeah, Avatar 2. It's like we said. It's been this. I feel like people aren't as excited about it, or they say they're not as excited about it because it's been like beaten to death as far as like the sequel's coming, and then like it became like a running gag, like, oh, James Cameron postpones Avatar 2, and then like, you know, just this happened for years.
And you know, even to go further to that, I think it's because of, like I said, I'm turning into Martin Scorsese. It's happening more and more. This superhero genre world we live in it's predicated on hype. So it's like the fact that we've got no set photos, no leaks, no nothing. People are like, well, I don't care because there's nothing. That's not what the movies are about. Like we said that when we were talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. That's not what this movie. That's not what its movie culture is about. It's about the actual movie itself. So
yeah, there's no like Avatar 2 theories.
Right, like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, who cares if the movie doesn't have anything? As much as we make our living on this, who cares if we don't have anything of that? Like, at the end of the day, it comes down to the actual, you know, movie itself that comes out in theaters and the content we get from that. So that's what they're probably focused on, just making a really good movie and not caring about marketing until in the next coming week. So that's really important. And man, I just, as soon as I saw that, I really got excited. It kept reminding me of like when I first saw that movie as a kid. Yep. To like find this different world. Like it really got like my hype train just really, really going. Yeah, I'm super excited. Something else to get super excited about. The CW has renewed. To follow Avatar up with the CW is a crazy transition. The CW has renewed most of their shows, that most of which we don't watch. But I watch All American. All American's good. So All American got renewed. What else? Walker got renewed. Walker, Kung Fu. Never seen it. We got to work on these names. Riverdale season 7 going strong. So spoiler alert, you've got about 5 seconds to get out of here. And I haven't seen Riverdale, but I saw a tweet today. You ready? They have superpowers now. No, why not? Remember season 1 when it was quote unquote normal? It was like a young adult. It was just a young detective kind of mystery. You remember we were watching it and like we would text each other about Riverdale during season 1. I was like, oh, I'm actually liking this quite a bit. And then it started getting weirder and weirder, and then they got to the Sabrina phase where they crossed over, and I'm telling you, they're gonna cross over with the Arrowverse. They're gonna find a way. That'd be great. Yeah. That'd be real great. Yeah, so Riverdale's back. But the two headliners are The Flash and Superman and Lois. The Flash, to my dismay. Season 9, which will make it the longest running Arrowverse show of the Arrowverse of all time. It eclipses Arrow's season 8 seasons. And I don't know. Is 9 going to be the last one? I think they should make it a 10-episode season and just do a proper because I guess spoiler alert for season 8, you have, so get out of here, you have Bart Allen. Mm-hmm. He's finally introduced. So like, and I said that during like season 5, as soon as we saw Excess, like as soon as we saw Nora, like now you can start to get into more like classic storylines. The only like, I mean, there's major misses on the show, but like in terms of actual people in the show, the biggest miss was Wally West to kind of keep something going. So now you have Bart Allen back that kind of, you know, reinvigorates that kind of good actor. Yeah, I can tell he's having a lot of fun and he's adding a lot of energy to the show, which they desperately needed something. But I think they should just try to end this now, especially with this Flash movie coming out as well, which we do think that Grant Gustin's going to be in that movie just based off Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think this is the time. I think you do a 10-episode season, And then especially like how rich the Flash comics are, like you have so much you can go off of. Like I think you do Flash Rebirth, like you obviously you're gonna have to change it because Barry didn't die during Crisis, but have like a Flash Rebirth-esque story, I think would be really good. And just like I always say with Henry Cavill for All-Star Superman to kind of, or Kingdom Come, to like make sure his character gets a proper send off. Do the same thing for Grant Gustin because so many people love him, including me and you too. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
When that show, season 1 of that show was coming out, I was like, it was my favorite TV show as it was coming out. Like Daredevil's like snuck the spot as I got like older, but like when I was younger, that was my favorite TV show. Every week I was like just clamoring for more of it. So I think he deserves a proper ending.
Yeah, it's rare that you see really, it's a show that long, is tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's not that many, and you really see over the time when you have this. The show is centered basically around one character, essentially, when it comes down to it. And to see the growth in not just the character, but the actor also is a really awesome, thing to see.
And if I want to take that further too, like, I know as much as I've said about the Flash, like, I don't think it's anybody's fault that's like in the show. It's nobody's fault. Like, it obviously, like, there's so many factors that go into making like any type of production. Like, the one shining light through this entire thing has been Grant Gustin from season 1 to season 8. He's the one thing that stays consistent in the way he acts, the way he interacts with characters. Like, it's always his heart that shines through, and like that was like his fatal flaw, but it's like the hero's fatal flaw that like it could kill him, but it's the thing that makes him who he is. Like, it's the one thing that you grow to love about Grant Gustin as the Flash.
Yeah, in a universe, we'll talk about Superman in a second, but in a TV universe that was void of Superman, for the longest time, he was kind of the Superman stand-in.
Yeah, he was the beacon of hope.
The beacon of hope, the shining symbol of heroism. And you see that even when you go back to the pilot of The Flash, when he gets his powers and he goes and he talks to Oliver, Green Arrow, and he's like, I'm not sure I can be like you. And Oliver tells him, you can be better because you can be the one thing that I never could. You can be, watching over your city like a guardian angel. And he really took that and, across the 8 seasons, you see that development,
right,
where he is that hero.
Yeah. In their universe, they're Superman and Batman. Oliver was very Batman-esque when he first started off, like, little to no help. So like little help, just Dig and Felicity, to no help. It was just himself going out physically in the streets. And then Barry was Superman, like that, that light that can, guide his city to a better tomorrow. And Supergirl was Wonder Woman, could take care, like, is still that same type of beacon and hope, but can still handle her business when need be. So those pillars as Arrow's gone, Supergirl is gone, I think it's the proper time to give Flash, a great send-off and, really send Grant Gustin, off into the stars.
Now he's doing that dog movie on Netflix.
I'm gonna watch it.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
Give me all the Grant Gustin. I hope he has an Andrew Garfield-esque type of time. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. But also, speaking of Superman and Lois got renewed for season 3. Not surprising. Yeah, that show is great.
Yeah, good stuff. When we talk about shows that understand themes and heart and emotion and all the things all the intangibles of writing and like how to craft like characters you can connect to, Superman and Lois checks every box to that. So glad they're back. I think that show's going to take over the superhero realm for the Arrowverse and for CW, and I just can't wait. I hope they give them more budget, give them more stuff to do, and really start to run through some of those storylines. And on that note, a show that also hits those emotional beats that didn't. So I want to say immediately get renewed because I do think it will get renewed. Is Stargirl? Yeah,
these were all early renewals,
right?
Basically,
right. Stargirl didn't get the early renewal, which I'm not happy about it 100%. Like absolutely, because I think that show's really well done.
Yeah, we did a season 2.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
We did season 1 and season 2. If I'm not mistaken.
I think we talked about 1, but I don't think
we talked about 1 in episode 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we
did like a full review of 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little hurt, a little jab. I don't know. But I think they'll be back. There's too much that they left unanswered. We got the villain tease for season 3. It's
Keith
coming
David?
back. Yeah.
Mr. Bones?
Yeah, Mr. Bones.
Man. Mr. Bones is back?
Yeah, you can't tease Mr. Bones and not bring the show back. That's ludicrous.
Yeah. But no, Superman and Lois, I think Tyler Hoechlin has morphed into like the definitive Superman.
Careful.
I'm saying it. He checks all the boxes.
Yeah, he does. I said reluctantly, but I agree.
There's a couple boxes that the other guy doesn't quite.
Hey, man, I don't think he was given the proper time to check all those boxes.
Hey, look, I'm just calling it like I see it.
Listen, and I can't be mad at you for doing that. I just don't think he got the proper time or direction to do all those things.
That's also correct, and he likely never will.
Give him a Kingdom Come movie. Give him the All-Star Superman movie, please. Just let him be sent off.
No, we're gonna do Evil Nightmare Superman.
Why? We've done that. We did that in Superman and we did that in everything. We did it in Supergirl. We did it in Crisis on Infinite Earths. We did it in Justice League. Then we did it in the Snyder Cut of Justice League. We don't need it anymore. Give me hopeful Superman that doesn't have any. Well, I guess he will have whatever. Just give me All-Star Superman, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Whoa,
that would be cool. That would be real cool. Because he'd get that 60s, like that 50s, 60s age Superman feel to it. I just watched West Side Story, so his name is in my head, but yeah. That's the first person that popped into my mind. And
then the last bit of news, we're diving into the video game realm. CD Projekt Red, which most of you may know right now as the Cyberpunk 2077 devs, but before that calamity of a game was released, they were most widely known for the Witcher series. And after The Witcher 3 wrapped up, they were like, we're done making Witcher games, we're doing other stuff. Lo and behold, they're like, I guess we're going to make another Witcher game.
So yeah, The Witcher's back.
The Witcher's back.
And to give Henry Cavill, while nobody's given another chance at Superman, giving him some more content to work off of.
Yeah, so they didn't say whether or not this was going to be The Witcher 4 or whether this was going to be a new story entirely. They were kind of unclear about that. So we'll see. They still have a full remaster of The Witcher 3 coming to next-gen consoles, which I'm really looking forward to. And so we'll see what happens with this game. It's one of the most critically acclaimed RPG series ever. 1 and 2 pretty much on PC, and then 3 really kind of broke through the mainstream. That's where I first encountered it, was The Witcher 3. I was just like, do I need to play 1 and 2? And people are like, nah, you can just do 3. I'm like, all right.
Much like Red Dead Redemption did.
Yeah.
Red Dead 2.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to going back to it when the next gen version comes out, and then seeing what they have, to develop in the future. Really have been enjoying the Witcher series on Netflix also. Henry Cavill seems to be having a blast with it. Mm-hmm. You hear all sorts of stories from the cast members about how passionate he is about The Witcher and how he's like a Witcher encyclopedia, which is fun.
Henry Cavill's a nerd.
He really is.
He really is. He was just building a computer one day. He would fit,
during the pandemic.
Would fit in. Maybe we should get him on an episode. I think
him on the show.
Get him on the show. Yeah.
Who's his agent?
Yeah, get him on the show.
Book him.
Yeah, somebody get that. Well, maybe we'll accidentally run into each other at the Oppenheimer premiere, and then the rest is going to be history.
He's not
Guys,
in it yet.
Get us to the premiere. If there's one thing that I would ever ask the fans to do, is to get us to the premiere
of Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
specifically. Don't care about anything else.
That's going to ignite this is going to ignite everything.
Wait till the Oppenheimer review. It's going to be
my gosh.
7. It might be a 2-parter.
The only thing I'm trying to think of the things that are going to be 2-parters. Whenever Marvel inevitably does Secret Wars as like their new Avengers Endgame, Dune Part 2, I might try to fold that into or expand that into a 2-parter, and Oppenheimer's 1,000,000% getting a 2-parter.
We have to do an episode just on the build-up.
Yeah, we're going to do a preview. We got to do a preview. You know what we should do? We should do a Christopher Nolan preview episode and just talk about how his effect from like 2000, I think, 2000 to 2002 to like whenever he's done gonna be making movies, because he really did change Hollywood for a little bit and like how you practically shoot stuff. So I think he deserves an episode.
Yeah, that'd be fun to do a director-based episode.
And then we do Oppenheimer.
Love it. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Probably like a year and a half from now. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, main topic time. Marvel Netflix is now Marvel Disney Plus.
Yes.
Netflix has been erased.
Yeah.
Snapped out of existence.
Thanos said my work here is now done.
Thanos style.
Yeah.
So time traveling back quite a bit.
To 2013.
Yeah. So Netflix was like, we got all this stuff. that Disney and Marvel Studios haven't gotten their grubby little hands on yet. So we're going to develop stuff. Marvel was like, sure, what do you want to do first? And they're like,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, not counting that. It doesn't count.
So before we hopped on, I was very adamant that we added Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into here, but Rob wasn't having it.
No, Marvel Netflix only.
The stipulation is I get to talk about Daredevil, but I can't talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
So Daredevil was the first kind of crack at this Marvel Netflix
starring
stuff.
Ben Affleck. You got, who else? Jon Favreau. Oh, wrong. My bad.
That's not it.
The cue card guys telling me it's the wrong one.
That's
My
not
bad.
the one.
Change the slides.
So Daredevil was the first one announced. Charlie Cox is announced for the titular role of Daredevil, aka Matt Murdock.
And most people are like, who?
Star-Lord style.
Yeah, thank God that he's an unknown, because I think it helps.
Mm-hmm. And it also helps, like, this felt like a very, like, underground thing.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a film.
Mm-mm.
Like, it wasn't Daredevil really returning to the mainstream. Then we started getting the first looks at it, and you're like, oh,
this is
this?
a TV show. This is a show.
Did Zack Snyder direct this?
Hey, man. Did the developers of Breaking Bad direct this?
So it's a very dark kind of tale compared to the rest of the Marvel stuff, and that's where we launched this entire Netflix universe. And they're like, well, who else do you want to do? And they're like, Jessica Jones, and people were like, who?
Yeah. And then you get Kristen Ritter from Breaking Bad fame,
Yep.
and then success, and
then lo and behold, who else is in Jessica Jones? Mike Coulter shows up as Power Man, Luke Cage, and we're like,
it's just getting interesting.
Giving us a Luke Cage show too? And then
they were like, yeah, let's do that.
So we get the Luke Cage show, and then the creme de la creme. So the Hand is introduced into season 2 of Daredevil, and we're like, the Hand, eh? And they're like, yep. And then we're like, we're gonna do Iron Fist, and they're like, yeah, we are. So we get Game of Thrones alum Finn Jones to star as Danny Rand, and we will talk about Iron Fist later. And then the Punisher snuck his way into this universe also. Possibly the you could say Charlie Cox is like the MVP, but like John Bernthal is like the sixth man. He comes off the bench when all the stars need a rest, and they're like, here's a Punisher show. And then, some might say it stole the entire Netflix-averse.
Yeah. And then this is superhero content, so inevitably they have to cross over, and crossover they did. And then I guess John Bernthal didn't get a chance to check into the game because it was just the four of them.
And then Disney finally got their grubby little hands on all these characters, and we were like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And the status of these shows was up in limbo for the longest time.
So do you remember the cancellation stage where the shows? Who was the first one to fall? Was
Iron
it
Fist?
It was. I don't think, because Iron Fist was up in the air. I don't think anybody really cared where it was going after that. I thought it was. Was it Punisher was the first one? I think it was Punisher was like, well, we're not. Punisher's done, and we were like, excuse me. And then I think Daredevil was the next like big one that was like.
Well, because season 3 of Daredevil was coming out.
And
right. By the way, we're not doing another season. Yeah. People were like, what?
Yeah. I was the first one in line. We're up in arms, and then Jessica Jones fell through the wayside.
Yeah, they all did these like one at a time for some reason. So Disney got their hands on all these properties again, and because of course they will, they're just mowing down all the properties that they had previously lost, or sold, and now they're getting them all back. So people were like, well, what's going to happen now? Like, are these characters just going to be snapped out of existence? Are they going to cross over? Are they going to be remade with new actors?
That was the big rumor that was floating around, was the new actors. Were they just going to cast all new people to play them in the MCU as well?
And Marvel was being very coy about it. They were like, we hear what the fans are saying, but we don't really have a direction or anything. Then there was the question of, well, what's going to happen with these shows on Netflix? We didn't get that answer for the longest time, especially since Disney Plus didn't have mature content.
No, that was the big block, was there was no mature content, and there was really no. The bigger question was when they acquired the rights to the X-Men, because it was Logan and Deadpool were the two, specifically Deadpool. Well, how are we going to do this with Disney if we don't have any mature content? And then,
so a lot of people thought maybe they were going to go to Hulu, but then recently, when it was announced that they were leaving Netflix, people were like, well, it's got to happen now.
Yeah.
If it's not now, when? And then internationally, it was revealed that they'd be on Disney Plus, but international Disney Plus has their own kind of
they have
mature
stars.
content
section,
and people were like, oh, so they're probably just going to go on Hulu in America. Nope. They revamped Disney Plus to include parental controls and, for mature content, and they've arrived.
Yeah.
The Defenders have arrived.
Yes,
Defenders Plus One
have
arrived on Disney Plus, and we're here to rank the seasons.
Yes.
So how do you want to do this? Top from bottom or bottom from top?
Let's do bottom from top, because I wanted to do the top from bottom, but let's just...
All right, we'll start with the bottom, because honestly, the bottom is where the most kind of stuff happens.
In the great words of Anakin Skywalker, this is where the fun begins.
So for me personally, at the bottom of my list is Iron Fist Season 1. Just not good television. I struggle to think of what even is like the redeeming quality of Iron Fist. I don't think it's probably Jessica Henwick.
It's Jessica Henwick. And it's funny because she was also one of the saving graces in Matrix Resurrections.
That's also true.
And it's funny, I was just watching... So, we came up with this episode yesterday. So... what did it start say? Make a plan. Plan goes off the rails. Throw away the plan. Make a new plan. That was us. So we came up with this yesterday. So I watched Defenders today. Last night and today I was watching Defenders, and even in the early parts of Defenders, she just immediately injects emotion and like actual acting into the outside of Charlie Cox into the show.
Yeah. So Iron Fist Season 1, it's the origin story of Danny Rand. Finn Jones. He's not a bad actor.
No, he's not, and that's what's even more disappointing.
But there's just no emotional range to that character.
There's no life in any of the characters. No. Ward also struggles from that heavily.
Ward and Hope, both of them. Too much boardroom drama in my first season of Iron Fist. That's what I hate most about it, is there's so much time spent on like the Meacham family.
So if I'm going to relate this to comics, so if you want to talk, I forget who it was, if it was Matt, I think it was Matt Fraction that wrote Iron Fist for a little bit. Or it might have not, was it Ed Brubaker? It was either Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, or, I know David Aja that drew My Life as a Weapon for Hawkeye drew it. So basically the way it starts is he's in the boardroom when it starts. And like, I feel like they just were like, what's the best Iron Fist comic that's modern? And obviously it's that. It was a piece of that was the tournament. So they were like, cool, let's just do that. Let's only do that boardroom part that we saw in the first part, and let's just forget to finish reading the rest of it. So that's exactly what happened.
I think what the problem is with that setup is the Meachams aren't compelling.
No, they're not.
Because they do this in the other shows where they devote a lot of time to the kind of antagonist characters. Daredevil does it with Kingpin.
Luke Cage does that really well.
Luke Cage does it with Cottonmouth. Punisher does it with Billy Russo. Jessica Jones does it with Purple Man. They all do it. But with the Meachams, I just don't care.
No.
I don't care.
And at least one of them's evil, so even the reveal of and spoilers for the entire Netflix / Disney Plus street level hero realm. Sorry, it's gonna get spoiled, but even when their father's revealed to be alive, there's no...
You're just like, oh, of course.
Yeah, of course he's alive, because why would he be dead?
Yeah. Doesn't do a lot of Iron Fist work in the first season.
And that's the biggest gripe. That's the biggest in-universe gripe from the show, right there, because you have like the production thing and the directing and the acting, which is like that side's problem, but the actual in-universe thing is he's not Iron Fist at all. Like they put him in a mental institution in the show.
He knows a little bit of kung fu.
So let's talk comic Danny Rand for a little bit, because he's a Zen kind of like... He's like this cool, calm, and collected, and like that also helps him bounce off of other characters, because like when S is hitting the fan, he's very calm and he's just like, oh, we're fine, we're good, like we'll take care of this all the time. Like especially with Luke Cage, because Luke Cage is like he's like a cool guy, but like Iron Fist is like he's just like, oh, like we're chilling, like we're cool.
Yeah.
And no, he just doesn't. He's frantic almost in this show, because in the comics, like when he debuts, the origin goes, he's a rich kid from New York, yada yada yada, gets on a plane, goes to wherever, plane crashes, his parents die, he gets taken in by some monks. He has a very Bruce Wayne-esque type of origin story, but he gets taken in by some people.
Mystical monks.
Yeah, mystical monks. They take him to the city of Kunlun. And
Mystical city.
Yeah, mystical city of Kunlun, which is going to be important for later when we talk about where these characters might show up, if you saw Shang-Chi. But so basically he trains for a little bit. He fights a dragon, plunges his hands into the dragon's...
Never see that on the show.
No, you get it teased a whole bunch of times, but you never see it.
Dumb.
Yeah, plunges his hands into the heart, gets the powers of the Iron Fist, goes back to New York City, takes his business back, and has a grand old time. And yeah, and it's just cool. Like, I was reading that. I just want to see I can't remember because that Iron Fist arc is really good. But yeah, in the show, it's just, like I said, he's very frantic. He's very just running around the city barefoot. And I get the approach they were trying to take. It wanted to be like an off guard type of thing. Cause Daredevil's like, he's cool. Like, it's like a cool guy that's doing these cool things. But Iron Fist was supposed to be like, oh, like, we're gonna mug this guy, and then he just beats the crap out of them. That's probably the approach they were taking but it doesn't work. He walks into his building barefoot, and like, I would do the same thing that any of the security in that building do, and is immediately throw him out because he's a crackpot. Yeah, it's sad.
So I assume you also have Iron Fist one at the bottom.
Yeah,
of the
I
list?
do. I just ranked them. It's 12, so I guess we can do 4 sections of 3. So we can do the bottom 3, then the next 3, the next 3, and then the top 3.
Because my next one is Defenders.
Yeah, this is where we start to part ways a little bit. So why don't you give us your 11? So that was 12. Why don't you give us your 11 and 10? So 11 is Defenders.
So I have Defenders, and then I have Iron Fist 2 after that. So Defenders, my problem with it is it's supposed to be the Avengers of this Netflix universe. There's one real character that's kind of sort of done justice by it, and that's Charlie Cox's Daredevil is the most compelling part of that story, but it's also not the best Daredevil. So, that loses it for me a little bit. It's merciful. It's mercilessly slow.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I was watching it last night, and I fell asleep and woke back up in the middle of the night. Like, I couldn't get through that first episode. It was... So what it does, it throws you at, like, it's like crazy ways of throwing you to these other characters. It's not like the biggest issue, like, because the Avengers is a perfect comp for this, like, to kind of compare it to. So the Avengers, everybody weaves pretty seamlessly because Clint and Nat are already working at S.H.I.E.L.D. Captain America's like, oh, now we have an actual superhero with us. So, like, it's for, like, in-universe nostalgic purposes, like, now he can be the man that can help us on these missions to, like, give us hope. Iron Man's, like, already the tech billionaire that's, like, he's the first superhero, so obviously he's gonna get a call. And Thor's the villain's brother, so now he's gonna help you. So they all mesh together. And Bruce Banner, you're gonna want him here because he's a scientist, he's smart. There's just the levels of which they come together into Defenders is borderline ludicrous. And the biggest one, honestly, I have 2 that don't work. The one is, like, I don't know how Luke Cage gets into this whole situation because he doesn't want to see the kids from his city or from Harlem start working for one of the people that are like one of the Immortals. So that's the way he gets injected into the story, which is like, you just got out of jail. Okay. Like, I don't think this is the best course of action for you, but the way that Daredevil and Kristen Ritt and Jessica Jones get together is so weird. It's like, so what happened? She's
investigating this whole thing.
Yeah, because
she gets mixed up in it, and Misty Knight arrests her.
Right, yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time, basically. And then all of a sudden, just Matt Murdock just walks in
and says,
Jessica Jones, stop talking. Mm-hmm. My name is Matthew Murdock, and I'm your attorney. Mm-hmm. What? What?
I don't understand.
So it's mercilessly slow. The villains are not compelling.
No, they're
Spearheaded by Sigourney Weaver.
Which is even more disappointing. So Sigourney Weaver, when you want to talk about just the, like, best female characters of all time, and some of the, like, she's on that pantheon. It's like her, like,
especially for, like, sci-fi,
too. Sci-fi action, like, Uma Thurman gets up there, like, those type of women. Whoever played Sarah Connor in Judgment Day, her too, like, them, like, that's it.
Yeah, that's the Rushmore.
Yeah, and then you find out Sigourney Weaver's playing the villain for this.
I was very excited.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be. What were some of the theories being? There was a bunch of theories being thrown out. I think it was I think they were talking like Madam Hydra or something like that, because this was post Winter Soldier, so that could have been a time where like something like that could have happened. I forget who the other ones were. I think they were like, some people were throwing out like, I think they were trying to get it related to like being like Elektra's mom or something like that, because of how her connection is in the hand. We're going to talk about Elektra in this too, because they literally and metaphorically suck all the life out of her in the show. But yeah, Sigourney Weaver gets cast, and just, I don't know what the direction was for like how they're acting. It just doesn't work. They're so stale. Like they're like caricatures of each other. Yeah.
Rubbed off on the whole Defender series.
You have two sides of the spectrum, which is Iron Fist and Daredevil, and like they said, what if we lean more into Iron Fist? I was like, no, you have the blueprint of how to direct these people.
Yeah.
I think this was a more simple fix, and you just get the Daredevil, whoever's directing Daredevil, like kind of how they do with the Marvel movies. Like obviously the Russos were the one that had the most, they had the most integral piece of this Infinity Saga, so they were the ones that were going to do the big overarching story. Like, should have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. You should have had the Daredevil people do it, but no. I guess they didn't want to.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I have Defenders in that spot, and then I have Iron Fist Season 2 marginally ahead of Defenders. Finn Jones feels like he's got a little bit more life in him.
Gets a haircut?
Season 2. Gets a haircut.
Yeah.
Gets a costume, sort of, kind of. Jessica Henwick is even better in the second season.
I think even moreover, Davos is probably one of my favorite characters in all of these shows. And I did look up the comic. It was the Immortal Iron Fist, and Fraction and Brubaker, they wrote issues in it. That's why I knew it was one of the two of them, but it was both of them. But Davos plays a big part in that because of the tournament. So his character is compelling. It's a really like, you don't spend any time in, like, look what happened to Kunlun when you left. Like,
spoiler alert, you got destroyed.
Yeah, it got destroyed. Like, I should have been the one that got the Iron Fist. And hey man, I'm with him. I'm 100% with him.
He ain't lying.
He should have got the Iron Fist. And now he turns into the Steel Serpent.
The story's a little tighter. I think in season 2, stuff makes more sense. It's not as much drama with the Meacham family. There's a little bit of Meacham drama in season 2, but it's not as overwhelming. But Finn Jones takes a step up, in my opinion. Jessica Henwick takes even more of a step up, and she was already really good in season 1. And then, Davos is a pretty good villain. So
he's just like, he's the perfect, like, I know the big argument for like the overarching MCU and like superhero movies in general, like the counter villain, like that just does the same thing you do. Davos was that. He just does the same thing you do, but it was more of like the mental aspect of it and like the emotional aspect of it is what really worked. So
yeah.
And that fight scene they had when they were training was
fight
really
choreography
good.
is better in season 2 too. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Is that your same 3?
I had 10 and 12 the same, but Defenders I had a little bit higher. And I had Jessica Jones at 11 because
that's the next. We could talk about that now because that's next on next on my list.
Right. So we basically had Defenders and Jessica Jones season 2 switched.
Right.
And personally, it's I don't want to call it the most disappointing. It's post Iron Fist season 1. It's the most disappointing season I've seen because of what happened in season 1 and how good
We're
season 1.
We're going to take it to season 1.
Yeah, because it's high. It's high on that list. But yeah, season 2. It's a slog. Like I'm not intrigued. Like the storyline with her mother doesn't work. Like because it just feels like everything could be taken care of if that makes sense. Like a lot of storylines, could have. I feel like it didn't need to go as far as it did.
Yeah, there's a lot of like twists and turns that are like unnecessary. Yeah. Just for like, It
gets borderline like soap opera-ish of like the way they go about.
There's like, the weird Trish Walker subplot.
Yeah,
where like, is she becoming Hellcat? Is she not?
Right, which I didn't even know they can do because of the whole X-Men thing. Because I didn't know if they had the rights to Hellcat herself. So that's where it got a little interesting. But then I guess they did it. But the way she got her powers was just. It was like...
She's like, hey, I want to be a superhero too.
And then she got powers, right?
Didn't she like take a drug or something?
Right, yeah.
Or like she underwent like did she find the doctor that did Jessica's...
That might have been it.
Experiment, and she was like, do one on me. And he's like, it'll kill you. And she's like, it might. And then it does for like a little bit.
Yeah, and then she wakes back up and...
And then she has superpowers. Right. And she's crazy?
Yeah. Is Nuke in season 2 as well? I haven't watched this season since it came out.
Does he pop back up? I think he pops back up briefly.
Yeah, because of the whole thing with him and Trish.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna get to
dies in season 2.
I can't even remember. We're gonna get back to Nuke because he's another great addition to season 1 of the show.
Yeah. So
and somebody I hope might pop back up, and if we're doing this if Falcon's Captain America now, that might be another place he can show up because because in Captain America comics, especially the newer ones with who was writing them? I know Alex Ross is doing a bunch of the cover art for it, but a bunch of the New Age Captain America. Ta-Nehisi Coates was writing Captain America off of his Black Panther fame, which famously was used for the first Black Panther movie, his comic run. He was writing Captain America, and Nuke was a big part of the first couple issues of that. So,
yeah, just a real void left by David Tennant.
Yeah,
he pops back up, in kind of.
The Joker in the Arkham City.
I'd call it like an epilogue for him, for that character. Like, it's like his epilogue. It's like Jessica finally severing she severs the physical ties with him in season 1, but severs the mental ties with him in season 2. So I really enjoyed that episode, but does not do enough for me to redeem that season. Nope. So that's our bottom 4. The bottom 4 is the same. The order's a little different. Yeah. So now we get to the middle bit. So right after that, I have Luke Cage season 2.
I also have Luke Cage season 2.
Okay, because you were waffling.
Yeah, I was. I had some struggles because Luke Cage season 2, it's the same as Iron Fist season 2. It's tighter. It's much tighter than the last half of season 1 because we're gonna get into I think we probably have Luke Cage at the same point, and
possibly I think
and the first 6 episodes, if the first 6 episodes of Luke Cage mirrored the last 7, it would have probably been in the top 3. I'm not gonna. I'll never forget when I watched that because I think I was chunking the season just based off we can't all sit at home like everybody the same and watch back to back. So I was watching the first 3 episodes and just you're compelled, you're intrigued. Mike Coulter's charismatic, he's suave, but it's Mahershala Ali's Cottonmouth is really it's the balance between the two of them and them two butting heads because they were getting at the same point of what they wanted to do, but it was the way they went about it. It's something we use a lot in your hero versus villain stories nowadays, that it's not aha, I got you this time, Batman. It's more compelling than that. But like the Riddler and Batman, it's we're getting to the same point, but the way we go about this isn't the same.
And then Luke Cage season 2 took all the bad lessons from the end of season 1 and doubled down.
They really commercialized season 2 as well. For some reason. It was getting promoted on ESPN and stuff.
There's a first take segment and
Stephen A. Smith was in.
Todd Bowles was in
Todd Bowles was in that. Sorry, Jets fans. Todd Bowles was in that season. He tried out for the Jets, even though that
he did a dab.
He did. He was a content creator for a little bit.
He was I'm Luke Cage,
and then he hit a dab.
Oh boy.
Yeah, So
season 2 was in desperate need of stimulation, and we got stimulation.
Yeah, we did. So I'm so glad I kept watching beyond the first 2 episodes because it was tough. It was really tough.
Because we get Bushmaster out of season 2.
Yeah, we do.
Really good villain, but just I don't know. It's just that season has moments. Mm-hmm. It has moments, but it's inconsistent, which is my argument for why I put the next show ahead of it.
Yeah.
Put ahead of it. There's a crazy inconsistency with the show because there are good moments.
There's waves.
There's waves. There's Bushmaster and Luke Cage encountering each other for the first time.
There's the whole Mariah Dillard versus Mariah Stokes, and the backstory with Bushmaster and Mariah Dillard is really compelling too. That's really one of the.
There's the Heroes for Hire episode.
Yeah, let's talk about, if we're to talk about singular episodes in this Marvel Netflix realm. It's one of my favorites. It's so good. It's comic booky.
Finn Jones is operating on a totally different frequency.
Yeah, he's finally Iron Fist. It's finally the time. He even says he's finally in tune with his chi. He walks to the barbershop and just chills on the chair for a little bit, and he's just what do you need, man? Let's get it done. I said this X amount of years ago, but right when I think this is when Luke Cage season 1, because what I thought they were gonna do is similar to what they did with Punisher, just on a grander scale with Iron Fist, is have them two be in their own show and then put them in the Defenders. So And I'm going to talk about that at the end because I do think we're going to get a Heroes for Hire show, and that's going to redeem Finn Jones. I think that's what we kind of need to do, because now that I'm thinking about it, especially since Charlie Cox was in No Way Home.
What? This character is back.
Yeah, you gotta keep this joke running that you're the one guy on the planet that hasn't seen the movie. But yeah, I'm really hoping we get a redemption arc. But that Heroes for Hire episode, it had my equation. So I have an equation for how to make the Heroes for Hire comic that was so popular in the 70s and 80s work, right? You get Iron Fist. You have Iron Fist be this cool Zen-like being that's just like... he's your cool stoner guy.
That can do kicks.
Right. Basically, you just replace the weed for chi and it's perfect, right? Then you get Luke Cage. It's like this cool, suave, big guy from Harlem. Just, deep voice, just the cool guy.
Mike Coulter.
Yeah, just get Mike Coulter. So you got two of the pieces, right? Then you get Wu-Tang. You get a nice late 80s, 90s mixtape together of rap, and then you have them fight together. And now you have a perfect show. It's not hard.
And that episode was real good.
Imagine that on Disney Plus with that production value. Like I said, a Heroes for Hire show, I think, is the best recipe to get Finn Jones back a little bit propped up on the pedestal. Because Iron Fist, like, out of all of them, minus Daredevil, Iron Fist is like a really classic comic character that I thought he was going to get a movie. I thought they were going to make sure, obviously, they took the chance because Daredevil was so successful to get him on the show. But then Shang-Chi essentially took as Eternals took the Inhuman spot, Shang-Chi took the Iron Fist spot for the movies.
So that's Luke Cage season 2. And so I waffle between Luke Cage and Punisher for these next couple spots.
Me too.
So I have Punisher season 2 in this next spot. Like I said about, Punisher, I briefly mentioned it. Consistency, man. It's consistent. It gives you what you're asking for. It gives you John Bernthal. It gives you heaps of guns. It gives you Billy Russo. And it's fine. Season 2 of Punisher. This is where we start delving into, like, this middle bit is, like,
okay
fine.
To good.
It's
okay
fine.
To decent, yeah.
And that's where I put Punisher season 2. I like the, what's the Pilgrim? John Pilgrim?
Yep.
I like that stuff. That stuff is really good. The stuff with Billy Russo ends in just spectacular Punisher fashion.
Yeah, it does.
Where he's, like, gonna give him his big villain monologue and Frank just shoots him in the head. Good.
Yep.
Good. I'm glad that guy's dead. I think that's what I enjoy most about the Punisher as both a character and, this series does really well. He doesn't screw around.
No, he doesn't.
Once he gets his hands on you, he's ending you, right?
Even from the beginning of the season when he's at wherever he is, he's at that bar wherever he is.
The construction set.
Yeah, right.
Season 1, yeah.
He just does not play games. And that just gives a testament to John Bernthal and, like, keeping the character consistent, because that's what we connect to. Like, so at least having that consistency really puts it above Luke Cage season 2, because the ending of which we didn't even talk about, the ending of Luke Cage season 2, that's another big reason why it falls.
When he takes over Harlem's Paradise?
Yeah, he just undoes, it's like the whole Captain America being, Hydra. It felt the same way to me. Like, you did the one thing that you were fighting against for the last 2 seasons.
And then he shows back up at Jessica Jones season 2 and was like, you need to forget about me. I'm a bad guy now.
Yeah, I'm the villain.
I'm the villain now.
And Mike Coulter's so lovable too. That's why it's just so weird, like, that like, why would you just not break down the club or just somebody else take place?
Yeah. But Punisher season 2 gives you more, there's not as high emotional stakes in season 2 of The Punisher as there is in season 1, which is why I think I dropped this down a bit. It's more of, like, just he's kind of, like, meandering, and he's kind of, like, involved in this subplot that's not even really his story. Like, the main story isn't his story, if that makes sense. It gets to be his story because Billy Russo kind of forces his way into the story by getting this, he get together, like, a gang of, like, war veterans that are, like, disillusioned, and they all follow him around, and then Frank's trying to stop him, but he's also trying to protect... It's The Last of Us.
Yeah.
This second season of The Punisher is The Last of Us. He comes across this young girl, and then he's protecting her from a senator's family that are trying to kill her, and it's fine. It's fine. That's the best way I can explain it.
You remember in the end of Iron Fist season 2 where he had guns and he had the chi flowing through the guns? I know that it was out of left field, but I'm just watching. So usually what I do is Rob's the numbers guy and he looks up numbers and I watch clips as we go because I guess I'm the visual guy. And Holy crap! I forgot that was a thing that happened.
And Jessica Henwick gets the Iron Fist at the end.
Yeah, and what was our take after the season? That she should have had it in the first place. As soon as they found out that Danny was a bumbling idiot, she should have been the Iron Fist.
What did Stick say in the Defenders?
Yeah,
Iron Fist is a thundering dumbass.
Yeah,
yes,
correct.
Thank you, Stick.
The fact that Daredevil was able to beat Iron Fist in a fight is again it's laughable. You trained your whole life.
You told us that.
That's the only thing you did in season 1, and in the first half of the Defenders, you just said you were the Iron Fist and never showed it. Sorry,
Luke Cage.
Sorry, we were talking about the Punisher, and I had to get that off my chest. I was
pretty much done talking about season 2.
Because now we're getting into where it starts to get pretty solid.
So I have Luke Cage season 1 here.
Me too. I think our lists are pretty the same. And then
so we get to the top.
Different.
Yeah. Like you touched upon in the beginning earlier, that first 6 episodes is outstanding. It's great.
Yeah, it's compelling. It's a great villain introduction. Like, just the framing of him, the framing of just him in front of the Biggie poster. It's
iconic. It's an iconic shot.
It immediately understands his villain motivation and his his villain energy and his energy as a person. And it's that's what visual storytelling is for me. It's that showing you immediately he is the kingpin of Harlem. That's who he is. I would have killed to see Mahershala Ali with Vincent D'Onofrio later. Just the two of them being butting heads and who's going to control the overarching New York, because as their empires would have expanded, they would have butt heads at some point.
Mm-hmm. But Cottonmouth dies.
Yeah, it was abrupt. I was I thought this guy was the main villain of this whole thing.
The main villain is Diamondback. Long pause.
You guys can't see us, but I put my hands over my head when he said Diamondback.
Long pause for Diamondback. Pour one out. Single-handedly torpedoed season 1 of Luke Cage.
Just such a weird direction to take the show.
It's because I guess they think they needed a physical match for Luke Cage that Cottonmouth wasn't.
What I like shows that don't have, the mental battle is so much, that's where a lot of, better Superman comics dive into, these characters that have power, usually, they're better, some of their better interactions with other, who's Superman's arch nemesis? It's Lex Luthor, a person that he can physically beat to death if he wanted to, but he can't because of his morals. Who's Batman's greatest adversary? The Joker, another person he can beat to death if he wanted to, but he can't because of his morals. The same thing was happening in Luke Cage. Their moral compasses were much different, so it was turning into compelling television.
Luke Cage also does not have any hand in the death of Cottonmouth.
No, he doesn't. Oh God, why? Then the show felt so much. Even this is probably crazy to say because I hadn't seen it a little bit. I feel like the production even felt different after he died. I don't know. Maybe it's just my mind.
I mean, maybe I think it's because you're remembering the Diamondback suit.
Yeah.
The costume.
Oh, God. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not great. In a universe, this Marvel Netflix universe where, costumes are few and far between, Daredevil is probably the only one. The only one that has, a proper outfit.
Right.
It was very jarring to see Diamondback in, a full, weird Hammer Tech outfit when Luke Cage's costume is a hoodie and some jeans, and Iron Fist's costume is also a hoodie and some jeans, and then Jessica Jones's outfit is a leather jacket and some jeans.
You know what the Diamondback suit reminded me of? The Bane suit from Gotham.
You're not wrong.
It's not even because the Bane suit was it's just the ludicrous nature of them, the ridiculousness of them. It's just in universe at the moment. I mean, Gotham obviously it's a little bit more believable for Bane, but for this, it does just feel so off, that it didn't belong here.
The magic bullets that can hurt Luke Cage.
Yeah. That just gets into the realms of just lazy writing of because they already did that in Jessica Jones, because what did Purple Man do? Because I know Luke Cage was working for Purple Man for a little bit, and that just showed that once we get to Jessica Jones, we're going to talk about how he might be, him and Kingpin are probably the two best villains in this whole thing.
Yeah. But
I don't know, that just gets lazy. Of course there's magic bullets that can beat Luke. Why not make it this is a mental thing that he has to go through? It doesn't matter how bulletproof you are. The city itself's not bulletproof. That should have, and that's what was happening in the first half. Keep that going the whole season.
Yeah, Cottonmouth was messing with him without even touching him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and Mariah was a good third party to add into there because it's like different levels of antagonistic forces.
Because she's like the political villain, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
It was working until it didn't.
Yep, it hits such a wall.
Yeah.
And that's why I have it below Punisher Season 1.
Yes.
So Luke Cage loses out to the Punisher twice. Again, consistency. Except just at a higher level from the first season.
And I think it helps that it comes right after his arc in Daredevil.
Yeah, people were really looking forward to this. John Bernthal, incredible. You can't say enough good things about the guy. Everyone's good in this. Karen Page is in this. Mm-hmm. She's good for what she is. His Micro's
in this, yep.
Really good. Good kind of guy in a chair, and they have a very good kind of adversarial relationship throughout a lot of the first season.
Those flashbacks were this show is, and this is what we're gonna start to get into the realms of these shows being shot pretty well. That one take that he had when he was overseas was really well done. Where he was kind of clearing out that compound, really well done. Shows that physical bruteness of John Bernthal, and like he also has this really good balance of like you can believe him as this family man that lost everything. Like in terms of believability of these characters, he's the only one that rivals. I mean, Mike Coulter for the physical look, but like he's the only one that counters like that matches and goes with.
I think Kristen Ritter is good in the first season of Jessica Jones.
Yeah, it's just the whole stuff with her mom kind of undoes some of the stuff in season 2, but
season 1 she nails that kind of abuse victim.
Yeah,
we'll get to Jessica Jones season 1 because it's crazy. Great. But what's his friend's name? Curtis?
Yeah, Curtis is really good.
Always had me nervous. Mm-hmm. Curtis always had me nervous through 2 seasons of the podcast.
I got so attached to that man.
I'm like, is Curtis they better not kill Curtis.
Yeah, it was every episode. I was like, if Curtis goes, man. And he was close a whole bunch, heaps of times he was close.
Yeah. But this really comes down to, it's a tale of Frank avenging what happened to his family, which perfect. That's what you need for a Punisher arc. You need the Punisher to punish the people who is responsible for the deaths of his family. And you also get to see that kind of fun-loving Frank also when he's interacting with Micro's family. That's kind of a nice little stand-in for, like, you get to see how Frank was before he became, who he is now. And then,
you're one bad day away from being me.
You talk about comeuppance. What does Billy Russo get comeuppance? The most saddest.
It still makes my skin crawl when he gets his face dragged across the glass. Like, I have such a tough time watching that scene, but it's good. It's
pretty brutal.
It might be the most brutal amongst all these things. Punisher's been beat. He's got to be a metahuman. He's got like his foot drilled in Daredevil. He's got so much happen. Yeah, this guy gets beat up quite a bit.
I mean, the show comes and goes, starts and finishes as John Bernthal goes, and he is consistently great through that whole first season. You're rooting for him. Mm-hmm. You understand his motives, even though the Punisher inherently is a difficult character, I feel like, to root for.
Right.
Because of the nature of how he fulfills his missions.
Yeah, and coupled with the world today, too.
Yeah.
They had to delay Punisher Season 1 because of the Las Vegas shooting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but, he wins you over, with his motivation, and you understand where he's coming from. They do a very good kind of subplot about military trauma and PTSD.
I think that's for me personally, that's where this show really stands out, and that's where the themes of the show really start to come from because of how much that can really affect. Like, he goes on a one-man rampage throughout the New York City because of what happened to him then.
Yeah. So we've meandered through all these other shows, the bad, the pretty okay. Now we've come to the pantheon.
Yeah.
The Mount Rushmore.
It is the Mount Rushmore.
The top 4.
And we're different.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So I have Daredevil season 3 here.
Unbelievable.
In my 4th spot. I think to me it's good. Again, these are the best 4. So it's not bad. It's for me comparing them to the other stuff that's coming. It's tough to say that I don't love the B characters in this as much. I love obviously the stuff with Kingpin, the stuff with Matt is great. The stuff with Ben Poindexter, aka Bullseye, is really good. But everyone else kind of feels kind of flat to me. Especially Karen and Foggy, who are 2 characters that I found pretty compelling in the first 2 seasons. Like, Foggy just kind of is doing his own thing, and Karen is kind of in Daredevil's story, half kind of doing her own thing, trying to like expose Kingpin. She makes some really baffling decisions in this third season. They just become kind of less of what I enjoyed about them in the first two seasons. But I will say the resolution to this season is probably the best out of the 3 Daredevil seasons. But that's also built off the back of the other 2 seasons. You know what I mean? So that ending is so strong because, to me, the first 2 seasons are so strong. But, again, not to say that it's bad, but I just didn't find myself enjoying it as much as the first 2 seasons of Daredevil.
So I have...
Defense rests, Your Honor.
Yeah. And let me make this known that you aren't Matt Murdock in this situation for these bars I'm about to spit in a second. But I have Jessica Jones at this spot.
I have Jessica Jones after this.
Yeah, I have Jessica Jones 4, and obviously Purple Man is the reason why it's 4.
David Tennant, ladies and gentlemen, give him a hand.
What I felt genuine fear from this man, and again, it's not the physical nature of him, it's I can get whatever I want, whenever I want, and it leads to the big theme of this season, it's trauma, like how victims deal with trauma post, and how even people with these physical powers, like, cool, you have this physical prowess, but that's not going to do you much good. Like, this trauma's already happened to you, so it's very sad. Like, it's a very like grim season. Also, like, as much as the highs hit the highs,
not a lot of good habits.
No, not a lot, and I think it's intentional, and it's funny because Daredevil gives you the heights of like action and like all like the cool things, but in terms of like giving you heights of like low emotional points, it's like this does it, and not low emotional is like the emotional is bad. It's low emotional, like literally like it's sad for what they're going
and like
through.
You feel for her, like she drinks all the time. She just has sex to like just try and forget. And
she just needs euphoric moments in her life. That's
and
all.
It doesn't help. Yeah, it doesn't help, especially when Purple Man Kilgrave comes back into the fold. Like, it just ruins her to like the point where like that's all she can think about. Then there's that really great, tremendous episode where they quote unquote team up when he's trying to prove to her that like he's a good guy, but he's not. Like, he's manipulating her the entire time. It's really good. It's really, like, I talked about this when we talked about Batman. There's an unease and a tension throughout that entire season of Jessica Jones season 1 that you can't shake until Kilgrave is dead. Yeah. Because as long as you know he's out there, like, something bad is gonna happen. There's the scene with his parents.
That's one, yeah, that, too. We could talk about that real quick. So they have this, so she's got this plan. She's going to try to basically humanize him and get him to, think about the sins that he's committed over his life. And when I tell you that it flipped and everything that they just worked, because at that point in the season, you think there's going to be a bit of obviously villains need to come back, but you think there's going to be a bit of resolution.
Like, you think he's going to get, like, something. Like, something's going to happen.
Right.
And you get a little bit of that, like she's torturing him for a little bit, and even like
Trish... It feels good, but it's again goes back to the point, like these little euphoric moments it's not gonna heal the trauma. It's just not. It's like you're scarred forever.
Yep.
So basically everything flips. Purple Man makes his parents kill his mother just makes her stab herself over and over again because I believe their parents are the ones that did it to him. That's the reason. So again, making a character that's three-dimensional, like, because he's the most hateable, but he's probably the second best written one because it's like he's easily like.
Also, he's like a dark reflection of Jessica.
Yeah, he is
built by trauma, but he just went the other way. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then
these villains are really
they're great.
Outside of Iron Fist and Defenders, these villains really counter their heroes pretty well.
Yeah, you have even I like the subplot a lot with Nuke and Trish.
Yeah, that I really enjoyed. So again, just going like how people are manipulated into getting these powers, and it also fits in because at this point the MCU was still. It was still in this. Like, the MCU was still a thing, and they were trying to relate it. Like, I remember in Jessica Jones season 1, they had that really good line. The one woman was talking about, like, you people were, like, raining down hell upon us, like, while, like, we couldn't do anything. Like, again, like, you have this physical power, and, like, we're still these humans that live amongst these gods. Like, and Purple Man, like, thought of himself as a god, too, and, like, Nuke being powered, like, Jessica being powered, like, it fits into universe pretty well, too. And it's like, it was the Disney Plus show. It was Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier before. Like, it was these gritty worlds that were like the underbellies of like the hero journey that everybody else was on.
Yeah, so that's why for me, Jessica Jones season 1 is slightly ahead of Daredevil season 3, because her journey is just, you're just so invested in it. Not to say I'm not at all invested in Matt's journey, because I am, but just what she's going through, like, you feel for her so much. And like with Matt, there's in Daredevil season 3, like, there's moments where he like gets out of it, you know what I mean, and like he feels kind of relatively okay. There's never a moment in Jessica Jones season 1 where she feels okay. It's just, she's just on this journey and you're rooting for her so badly to get out of it. Where like Daredevil season 3, you're it helps and hurts, because you're invested, obviously, what's going on with Matt v. Kingpin, but you're also invested in Ben Poindexter's story. So it's kind of like diverting attention from Daredevil. Whereas like Jessica Jones, it's just about her, and it's about her trauma and her overcoming trauma, not just anything physical. It's because she's got all the powers you could ask for, but it's the one mental and emotional thing that's crippling her, and you just want nothing more than to see her get out of it. Yeah, so that's that. And then I guess we arrive at the 1-2 combo, the head and shoulders kind of rising above Daredevil season 1, Daredevil season 2. Did you flip these? I had 2 as 1.
No, I just want to say I'm watching the Punisher season 1 sizzle reel. This show is brutal to look at. Jesus. I just got to the scene where whatever their leader was, like their military leader, like when they were at the compound and he was tied up and he's just stabbing him over and over again. Like, they didn't pull any punches in
My
Punisher.
favorite,
Jesus.
Going back to that, the scene where he clears out his little base of operations, and the soldiers are there, and he's like got them like Equalizer style, like just running into traps and gunning them down. So good.
Yeah, he's the full out menace to society.
He really is.
But yeah, I mean, just real quick on Daredevil season 3 for me, I mean, I definitely understand the point you're making 100%. I think the only thing I'll say to the Ben Poindexter arc, we already got season 1 and season 2 of this show, so that's what I'll say to that, to counter that, is like, we didn't really need to do all that because we've already got all that. So good that we're focusing on a villain that's actually compelling, and like another version of like another bad day away from being me, like another version of like a kid that's went through trauma and turned out the other way. But I mean, I just think season 3, again, to counter the point about him not really having feeling fine, I didn't feel fine for him because it took him 2.5 episodes to hear out of one of his ears. Like, he couldn't hear. Like, it was the most defeated I've ever seen him. Because if you want to even go further, he lost Elektra. This team that he just got formed together is gone. He's fully by himself. Like, he's
you could argue that's a good thing for him.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but seriously, he's by himself. And obviously, so Daredevil season 3 is based off of what many consider to be one of the greatest comic books of all time, Daredevil Born Again. I've read that twice. It hits every single time you do it. And just to go further, it's the first 3, and I'll never forget, it's the first 2 episodes. He's just struggling. He can't walk. He's just laying in this bed with this woman who we later find out is his mother. So that's another layer on top of that. Like, the mother revealed, like, wow, she really did not want me this whole time. Like, all these things being thrown into the season. It's like, this works for a 3rd season of a show. Like, I think sometimes we look at it too much as like its own versus like the whole culmination of what happened before. And like, if you look at it as like 1, 2, 3, like it helps. Like, Ben Poindexter being introduced, but then you don't shy away from what happened before, like mainly the Kingpin stuff. Like, it really comes to a nice head. But I'll never forget. It was the first time when he went back out and he was fighting, and you know he can beat those guys, but he wants to die. Like, there's nothing that he's living. It's like, it's so impactful. Like, I had to pause it for a second because I was like so overwhelmed, because like, it was when he did the Christ pose and like he was kneeling on the street, just like, you can kill. It was 2 thugs that he's beaten beaten like trained assassins. He's just like, you can kill me. Like that's such good like storytelling to me. Like kill me. Like I don't care. And like that's like the Born Again. Like it was him because I think he had to fight. Like Father Lantom bought in that other fighter for him to fight just so he can get his feet wet for a little bit. I love how down Father Lantom is for everything.
I love him a lot.
Yeah, he's great throughout the 3 seasons. But seriously, like it was that first 3 and then like him wanting to die and then it divulged in like, no, I need to do something. And because then Kingpin comes back into the public eye and Kingpin's got a plan this time. And then you get the perfect counter. So a man that has radar senses perfect counter is a man that doesn't miss. Obviously not done well in the 2003 movie, but this one really worked because it wasn't like this, full out echolocation every single time. Like they just fought. That's it. Yeah. But yeah,
gets pieced up in a new station.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hit him with scissors, snow globes.
But that 12-minute one take that they pulled off, it's the second best. The only reason that first one take is I think they're equal. I just think the first one is just a little I don't know. That third one is really good. So just so you guys know, Daredevil every season has a hallway that this man fights down. Sometimes there's levels like a Mario video game. We're looking at you season 2, but in the third, they piggyback. So season 1 was a hallway. It's a one take in a hallway and very old boy style. He's just clearing out brooms, but also he's getting hit. Like he's taking hits. Like you're feeling it with him. Season 2, it's in the middle. It's at the crux of the Punisher arc. He's basically against the Dogs of Hell, I think they call them. And yeah, he's again like going through like their building, just clearing them out. And then season 3 gets a little interesting because he gets hit with a little like just like a tiny bit of like whatever you call it. It's basically like to put you to sleep. And obviously Kingpin's in control, but man, it was like a good 11, 12 minutes of a one take of it's basically they call it the prison one take. So he's passing out as he's throwing punches. Like he's getting, he makes a deal with not the Irish. No, it's not the
Armenians.
Yeah, the Armenians. Yeah, he makes a deal with the Armenians. So like he needs to get an informant to get to Wilson Fisk. Like he needs to know who he is. And then it's just like the music was amazing, and that's some of the best that I've seen this show. And he's just fighting as Matt Murdock at this point, who's still dead. And I think he's in person. He said he was Foggy Nelson at the point, but as a whole of the season, especially when you really get down to the nitty gritty with Poindexter, and like he's really unhinged, like he's really off the rails. But like, hey man, I don't get it, but like I understand, man. Like life is tough, and you finally got this father figure for yourself that's trying to quote unquote help you, but. Kingpin, this is also the best example of Kingpin being like the Kingpin, like him really like this is season Zealand. Right, yeah, like behind the scenes, like doesn't matter I could be in the public eye, private eye, nobody, like season 1, nobody knows who I am. Season 2, I'm in prison. Season 3, I'm in the public eye. I have strings for every single person. And then man, that last scene, that primal, he's beating Kingpin and brings it full circle with the painting after the blood's on the canvas, the rabbit in the snowstorm, and then just like the "I beat you" line just rings in my head. It's great. I went on a rant about season 3. Season 3 is not perfect. Like, I'm iffy on the Nadeem stuff, but I also kind of like it. But it did come very abrupt, like the way he was introduced.
It also comes kind of off the back of Punisher season 1 doing that similar story, but better.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Right.
And then the Karen episode kind of comes out of left field a little bit.
It was Stranger Things 2-esque with Eleven's little anthology with her quote-unquote family, but
it's just like an issue with Karen that had never been addressed before. Yeah. And then suddenly it's addressed and it's important enough for its own episode.
I told you before we hopped on, so that Born Again, the story arc, a big piece of it is Karen being a drug addict, and like she basically sold Matt's identity out for drugs, essentially. But at this point, you don't really need to do that, because his identity is already, what's the way... He finds out in season 2, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Who?
Kingpin.
Yeah.
He finds out in season 2 that Matt's Daredevil. So that's.
I think he finds out like off screen.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's implied. Yeah. He does the Bruce Wayne thing that they did in the Batman, and he said, "What did you say?" But yeah, man, it's just in terms of like a storytelling, I think season 3 is just, it's incredible, and then somehow it gets more incredible. So actually, if I'm to be honest, I'm gonna move season 2 down to the 3rd spot. I'm gonna move just me talking about season 3, just remembering, and it's just, you fall in love with this character, and like it has the best ending, like it has the most satisfying ending. This ending leaves you hopeful, but lived in the universe of like this man that like had this childhood trauma that needs to exist. Like he can't, like you're better off alive as Matt Murdock than dead as Daredevil.
Yeah. I think also what kind of made me put Jessica Jones season 1 above this was all the things that you mentioned, honestly. The fact that season 3 Daredevil is built off the back of these other 2 incredible seasons television, whereas Jessica Jones pumped that bad boy out off rip. And we're like, now this is how we're introducing this character, and this is our first go. Like, that to me is super impressive.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Luke Cage's arc, because this was the introduction of Luke Cage as well, because they are together to the point where they have a kid in the comics too, so
handled really well.
Yeah, talking about that tense nature to it. Remember when Luke, I forget specifically what happened to him, but like they could, obviously you can't cut his skin.
She shoots him like with a shotgun, and it causes like a
infection,
thing, inside of him.
Yeah, right. And you can't cut him open because his skin's bulletproof. So like, what's her name? Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, Night Nurse, yeah.
I got MVPs of these shows because there's 3 specific MVPs of these shows. But so basically, because she's Night Nurse essentially. Because I don't know what Marvel's doing, because like she's Night Nurse, but also Christine from Doctor Strange is also Night Nurse. So I don't know. They got to fight over it, I guess. But
Rosario Dawson's getting the Star Wars bag,
right? So all right, we'll give Night Nurse to
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, to Rachel McAdams. But yeah, that scene was really well, like when he's like, he almost is gonna die because like they need to come up with an innovative way to save him. But like that show's really tense. So Jessica Jones season 1 is at my 4th spot, but it's a really respectable 4 that could be 3.
And then so we get to Daredevil seasons 1 and 2. I have 2 at the top because I said this to you before we hopped on. It's the most Daredevil. Like, it's the most Daredevil you can get. He's in the suit pretty much the whole season. There's ninjas. There's Elektra. And then the Punisher arc is just...
Yeah. You want to talk about it, or...
It's as good as TV can be.
Yeah.
Any TV. Don't care what kind of TV it is.
This has been my big argument for if you follow me on anything or know me, like, this is it. Like, episodes 1 through 4, I will die on the hill. It's like you just said, it's some of the best television you will watch, period.
The way the Punisher is presented in these first 4 episodes, he's a boogeyman.
He's the Grim Reaper.
He's Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It's the slow walk, it's the musical cues. You don't see his face a ton until the rooftop stuff. He's the Grim Reaper, like you said. He's the boogeyman. He's the thing that people should be afraid of if they're not. The way he's spoken about in almost like this mystical manner.
Yeah.
Whereas like they come upon these crime scenes and they're like, oh man, a whole gang of people must have done this. And then there's that, we know as the viewer, like it's just the Punisher doing this. And then, all things come to a head. They exchange fisticuffs a couple times, and then we get to the rooftop, and it's just brilliant from go, when they do acting. Talk about doing acting.
Yeah, that hashtag acting award that we have to coin at something and get trademarked for this specific show. That episode 3 of season 2 is, it's again, period, point blank, not even superhero TV show, Netflix, it's TV period is some of the best acting you will ever see. I always say a testament to good acting is like, can you talk over somebody and still deliver your lines purposely? And they do. Like, it's conflicting ideologies. It's 2 actors going head to head against each other. Like, it felt very like Heat-esque in the way that it was going about. Like, just, it's Punisher's unwavering, like, I've already, like, you've lost your father and you don't know your mother. Cool. Sorry, you were a kid, like, and bad things happen. I watched my whole family die in front of me.
And they don't even dive into that.
No, they don't. They save that for, you get it implied, but they save it for for Punisher season 1. But it was it's more of the ideology, like, when like I said, it's Punishers. Like, I've already seen the worst of humanity, so they need to be put down. Like, there's no civil trial in court that they can get put through. Like, these people need to die. Like, and then it's Matt's religious roots and, like, his culture and hope of, like, there's a better tomorrow that's waiting for. This is why I crusade at night, to, like, try to straighten these men out. Like, they can become better.
And then the Punisher's just like, yeah, how's that working out for you?
And it's not. Like, it's not working. And it really, this season does a great job of, like, it's always what season 2 should do. Obviously, Daredevil season 3 did it more than season 2, but beat the living crap out of your character. But this is more of the Dark Knight approach of, like, beat their ideologies and their methods, like, beat those to a pulp, like, undo those, because
and then the Punisher does it,
yeah,
and Elektra does it.
Yeah. Again, Electric, because Punisher was, again, is more like, it's the ideologies, but Elektra was more of, like, the physical nature in which they should go about this. Like, we're gonna crusade, but, like, it's bigger. It's why Charlie Cox is so good and why he's so well written. Him being the devil of Hell's Kitchen, going further, like, he thinks this is his city. Like, again, it's not about you. Like, you're just a pawn in this machine. Like, but he thinks himself, like, I'm the ruler of this. Like, I'm the person that, like, things flow through, which again, like, there's things that are outside forces that are way bigger than you. And once we
like
get
ninjas.
There's ninja. Like, the hand is prevalent. Like, you've been trained to beat the hand, but, like, you cut yourself off because you wanted to be a lawyer. And, like, Stick makes that point. Like, you wanted to be a lawyer. Like, you could have been one of the greatest assets, because, like, not only, like, you have this sixth sense, like, and you know how to take a beating on top of that. Like, you could have been...
That's his real superpower.
Yeah, you could have... Yeah, jeez. That guy could take a beating. If Punisher can, Daredevil definitely can, but... Yeah, I think season 2 is still really good.
I mean, I understand the criticisms of it, and, you know, it's something that it suffers from what some of the other shows suffer from, which is this kind of unevenness from where it started to where it went. You know, you can argue that the hand arc isn't the strongest.
Yeah, and then the way they reintroduced Punisher in the back half of the season, it feels a little disjointed, as if he didn't need to come back. Like, you already did that. He didn't really need to.
Yeah, and then, you know, so I understand those criticisms, but also, like I said, it's the most Daredevil that the 3 seasons are, and that's what I enjoy most about it, honestly. Get some good courtroom drama. Also in the Punisher trial, again, John Bernthal is incredible in that whole
Turned into a meme.
I like that scene when Punisher walks into the courtroom, that slow walk, the slow motion, the American flag draped behind him, and that music, that wah, as he's walking into the courtroom.
He's a specter. Like, he's not like, it's, once you get to the Punisher, you strip him down, but I'm glad that they didn't for a little bit. Like, they left him like that. Like, he was like this aura, because it's not his show, and that's another great point for why it's so well written. It's not his show, and it understands it's not, but it's this outside force, which we as the audience don't know if we can trust yet. Like, we have, like, it's a little pensive in the beginning. And then Karen getting thrown in there really does a good job of humanizing him even more. Yeah.
And you see that's what's so good about the Punisher stuff in the season 2 of Daredevil, is you see that deconstruction of the myth, like the mystical kind of almost presence and stranglehold that he has over the city. And then slowly but surely you start seeing the man behind that. And that's what makes that story so compelling. Get a little bit more Kingpin in this in season 2.
Again, just always
be scheming.
Schemers be scheming.
Schemers be scheming. Paves way to a very brutal Punisher fight in a jail. Very good. Oh my God, so good. So good. I forget who said this. A friend of mine said it, but whenever you hear that little scream he does, you're dead. It doesn't, you already died. You might as well. Putting him in an all-white jumpsuit was a great touch.
Yes, yeah. Really highlights the blood. Yeah, Daredevil's really, it's the best shot show out of everything too.
I agree.
It really gets to, like, it really highlights, like, because we were in this MCU world, and then, like, from the opening frame in Daredevil, you're like, oh, this is different. This is much different. Yeah.
So and then finish where we started.
Yeah.
Daredevil season 1. It's
the creme de la creme, the magnum
standard
opus.
Bearer. Yeah. It's the standard bearer for all this stuff. It's how we got everything else. And for that alone deserves its own credit. immediately establishes a different tone from anything we've ever gotten. Immediately establishes Charlie Cox's greatness as Matt Murdock. Introduces the side characters in a really compelling way and establishes the villain. I love. And it's, we talked about earlier how this first season of Daredevil kind of laid the foundation for how these other shows wanted to go about their hero-villain dynamic. Because you see a ton of Kingpin in season 1 of Daredevil. You get Kingpin's origin story. You get, it's two sides of the same coin. You see Matt's story playing out. You see Kingpin's story playing out. And eventually, they're gonna face off.
Which heads to... I think it's the best episode of this entire Marvel Netflix realm is the World on episode 6 of season 1, the World on Fire episode. So because this is finally where Kingpin becomes like the Kingpin, because at this point he was just this eccentric millionaire, this recluse almost, like that was, just wanted to win over this woman. He was just like this figure almost. And then immediately when he gives the order and the city starts to blow up and we launch into him and one of the Russian brothers together. That's it. I think it's the best episode that I'm trying to think of something that's better. It's either that or episode 3 of season 2 of Daredevil are probably the two best episodes. In terms of like comic bookiness, I'll throw that Heroes for Hire episode up there because it's great. Because you knew it was coming, but when it came, it was great. But it's so good. It's incredible. Just the way they craft season 1, it's the perfect example of an origin story where you root for the hero immediately, but he's not perfect. And I think they make it known. And that's something for Daredevil comics even further. Like, he's one of the most imperfect heroes, and that's why so many people relate to him too. Batman's the same way. Like, it's these imperfect people that deal with trauma. It's the relatability from the get-go. Yep. They start off, they deal with the origin of him going blind right away. Like, it's not like the movie where, it's kind of holds for a little bit. Yeah. Like they immediately take care of it. And the flashbacks are really well done too, because it immediately gets you invested in his father too. Yep. And where a lot of his ideals are coming from and like the grittiness that he gained from his father too.
Get a really good Law and Order court scene in, what is it, episode 2?
I believe it is episode 2. Yeah. Are you talking about
the Healy trial?
Yeah, I think that's episode 3. That's 3, yeah. Because 2 is the
hallway.
Give me a second. Yeah. Give me a second. We'll get into it. But yeah.
But yeah, it's great from start to finish. It does the both sidesism of the character incredibly well. And then, it has that build up moment, you know what I mean? You see him in the prototype outfit, the ninja mask, and then you just know that where this is going by the season's end.
Yeah, season 1 was based off Man Without Fear, which again was another super famous comic book period. So basically it's his origin story. It's how he came to be, how his father instilled the framing and the blocking in the show and the lighting is specifically like that scene where his father came back from the fight and you can see the silhouette of the gauze, the stitches sticking out of his face. It's his father doesn't want him to lead this life, and you feel it, you feel that there's something better for him. And there's this sense of hope that you get from it too. It's really tight. The storytelling's tight. And then also what it does is it gives you, there's something bigger it's the beginning of something bigger that's going on, even beyond the street level crime. Something's happening in New York that they're not going to get to yet, because at this point we probably know that they're going to do more shows like this. Yep. We didn't know who the characters were going to be just yet, but you knew we were going to get some more of this. So you can feel, especially when Madame Gao's introduced, there's something in this city that's
Nobu too.
Yeah, Nobu's a really good antagonist to him too. And then I forgot Nobu came back. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you get Nobu back in season 2.
Was he in? No, that wasn't him in Defenders.
No, because he's beheaded at the end of season 2.
Right.
Stick gives him the Thanos treatment. No resurrections this time.
until it happens. But yeah, season 1 is it's really good. The climax to him fighting Kingpin. And I love how they don't shy away from that comic book nature of Kingpin, how he's a big old brute that's I know that he's like a final boss. Like, I know like Daredevil's a better hand-to-hand fighter than him, but we honestly don't know what type of training he's had, especially after his interaction with Madame God. Like, we don't know what this man knows or what he's seen or what he's done.
Beheads a man with a car door.
Oh my god, it's these shows. They deliver on that gritty promise.
You don't talk about styles make fights. I'd like to see Kingpin and Luke Cage go at it.
Yeah.
Because they're both just like...
But specifically Hawkeye Kingpin, because Hawkeye Kingpin was a cartoon. He was a cartoon character.
That's actually a good transition. So those are our rankings. You know, take from it what you will.
Yeah.
I definitely plan on rewatching pretty much.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna run through
on Disney. Well, they're on Disney Plus. I just gotta carve out the time to watch them.
You know what I really want to do? I want to, because I forget where it is, but there's the full out like in universe, like how I'm talking every piece of the like Agents of Shield, Cloak and Dagger, like everything. So what I really want to do is start from Iron Man 1 and go through everything like episode to episode, because I did that with the Arrowverse recently, like a year ago. I told you about that. I was rewatching everything as it was coming out, which was really cool because there was things I missed that they referenced in other things. There's a Flash cameo in Arrow that I forgot about. That was literally lasted for a second. But yeah, I want to see that definitely. So, I'm definitely gonna run through the whole MCU front to back. Nice. I know I'm really Martin Scorsese, but I'm not. I got a heart.
So yeah, I think that's a neat transition to where we think these characters are gonna show up, if at all, next. Kind of gonna briefly touch upon Daredevil and Kingpin because they are the two characters that have already been reintroduced to the MCU.
Yeah, they were the flagship two to make the transition. They survived.
Not surprising.
No,
that those will be
absolutely not.
The first two to show up. Just letting the fans know, like, don't worry, they're here.
Yeah, because I mean, there was a bunch of people like me that said I think it's an absolute mistake, because I think the one that people were like, okay, we're okay if he gets recast as Finn Jones, was like the one where we were like, if he gets recast, I don't think it's the end of the world. But right. For no reason, I don't think Charlie Cox, it shouldn't even have been entertained than anybody else, because he is Daredevil as much as I think it's the levels, because I always say that my three, and my third one's always the one that gets people to laugh, because it's Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and I always say Fitz and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are like my three favorite Marvel characters that we've ever gotten. But yeah, I think it's he embodies that character. He feels like a living comic book on screen when he becomes Matt Murdock, and I'm talking like that 80s era of Daredevil where it became super dark and gritty from Frank Miller,
and will only be helped by being a part of a larger comic book universe. I think,
because and so if you want to talk comics for a little bit and like story arcs and like how these characters came to be and where they are and like how popular they are, Daredevil is the one that's super popular out of all of them. Like, it's him. Like, he's the one that gets the most play outside or with other characters. So yeah, I definitely. Obviously, he was, to Rob's surprise, he was in No Way Home.
He what?
He was where? So yeah, he was in No Way Home. How was your, because we saw it at different times or in different places. How was your theater reaction when he showed up?
My theater reaction was pretty reserved throughout the film, so there wasn't...
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about this, right?
I mean, there were a couple, like, gasps when he showed up. Like, people were like, oh... like this guy. So it wasn't like a big, huge reaction. But like I said, when we did the Spider-Man No Way Home review, my reactions as a whole were pretty tame, which was fine. I appreciated that. It let me really take in the moments, you know what I mean? So yeah, nothing crazy, but there were a few people that were like taken aback. I think also because most people kind of already knew that he was going to be in it, so they weren't like overly surprised, but they were like happy to see him.
Yeah. My theater was not tamed, not a bit. They let it fly. I also went with I think I went with the group of people that ignited everything in the theater, because we were like in the middle back, so like we were like projecting everything. So when he came on, and much to my surprise, when the cane dropped and he came on screen, there was much more than I thought it was going to get. So I think people really like this character, and like I think it's just good television, like outside of the superhero genre. Much like
firing off flashbangs over there. What's going on?
Oh yeah, that's I'm definitely watching the Punisher fight scenes. So that's in Daredevil specifically. So yeah, flashbangs essential. But yeah, he's super popular, and I mean, like, just much like the Batman, like, it's just a good movie, and like that. Daredevil is just a good TV show. And then in universe, they're good superhero content too. So
he'll be back. Kingpin will also be back. We saw him pop up in Hawkeye. I know people think he got shot in the head.
Yeah,
but
he's alive.
Just
so in the Brian Michael Bendis run of Daredevil, I think it's before that, but it's like the actual aftermath of it happens in that he's blind. So yeah, he gets blinded, and he's now like that. You're just like me.
You're one bad day away from me,
yeah,
Kingpin.
and then so he's blinded. Yeah, and then I think that's what's going to happen now. I think Kingpin's going to be blind for a little bit, and it's going to be
rumors abound that Daredevil is going to be showing up in Echo, full Daredevil out.
Because in the comics they were together, if I'm not mistaken, for a little bit.
Guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
man.
if y'all want to know, Daredevil is a ladies' man.
That guy gets around.
Black Widow, Elektra. Man's an issue.
Yeah. So those two will kind of discount because they're already here in the MCU. We expect we'll see more of them.
Yeah. I think
the other future characters, their futures are a little more up in the air.
Yeah.
So we'll go down. I would say most likely to least likely.
Yeah, I do want to circle back around with Daredevil because I do think because the huge question is if we continue, because I think Jessica Jones is done. I don't think we're going to get another season of that. I'm going to talk about what I think they're going to do with Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Punisher, I think he's also going to just get another season on Disney Plus, and that's going to be like the flag. I think what they're going to try to do is release it around the time they do Deadpool or do something like that, just so they can be like, well, here's your movie and here's your TV show that are R-rated. But talking most likely, believe it or not, I think it's Finn Jones to come back as Iron Fist.
Oh man, what a turn of events!
I'm skipping John Bernthal because obviously John Bernthal's coming back as Punisher.
I think he's coming back, and I think he's going to be a part of something kind of bigger.
Oh, so if that's the case, then this Midnight Suns is probably where he might show up.
I'm thinking he might.
Yeah, because this Midnight Suns, the way they're kind of propping this up to be is like this.
So I think they look at John Bernthal and they're like, that's a super duper star right there.
Right.
We're going to use him not just for the Punisher, but we're going to use him, I think, for, much. I think Daredevil also will be used for bigger things also. But I think Punisher for sure will also be used for bigger things. But no, your Iron Fist point.
I think we're in the age of redemption and nostalgia. So I think that he's going to get nicely redeemed, and I think the first spot, because the immediate reaction and I said this as soon as we walked out of the theater for Shang-Chi, I was like, oh, they did the cities, like, Kunlun's gotta be one of those cities that they talked about, and if that's the case, I think Shang-Chi 2 is very simple because, again, it was the Guardians thing. It was like, who the heck is this guy? Like, most people didn't know who he was, and look how it performed with people not knowing. Now you introduce a character that people do know. I think you make this simple.
Yeah, they know him.
Yeah. I think you make it simple. You take the love that people have for Shang-Chi, and you try to Andrew Garfield him for this
is a tough task.
Yeah, it's a difficult task. So you got to ask yourself the question, like, do you try to throw him with, because if you want to talk comics for a second, Iron Fist is like on the pantheon for hand-to-hand fighters, and that was something that was very frustrating with the show because he felt so inept of what was supposed to set him apart. Because as soon as Iron Fist got announced, I was like, oh, because of like how great the fight scenes in Daredevil were choreographed. I was like, imagine you take away like the.
I was really excited for Iron Fist when they announced it.
I was like, imagine. So now you're stripping away like the, Daredevil's like kind of like boxer-esque type of fighting because he mixes like the martial arts with the boxing. Like now you're getting straight martial arts, like straight hands.
I thought Iron Fist was everything that Shang-Chi ended up being.
And it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
But I think what you do for Shang-Chi 2 is you do now you have the war between the cities, like which city's going to be the one that's not destroyed, like something like that. So what you immediately do is wherever Danny is, like Danny and Colleen come back and they're like, so what it's going to help too is like put Shang-Chi and Iron Fist against each other. like, it's the whole, they punch each other for a bit and then they're friends. They're going to do the Godzilla vs. Kong thing. So have them fight for a little bit and just be like, oh, this is bigger than just the two of us. So, and also it's going to help, it's going to round out Shang-Chi for like how he is like with this outside force that's coming. Cause I think I talked about the theory last week where I think that those rings have the same technology of whatever Shang-Chi's rings have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good sequel to Shang-Chi 2.
Can I say something controversial?
Sure.
Introduce Iron Fist into the MCU, but make it Jessica Henwick.
I don't think that's. Oh, I think they just did that. I think they just introduced a new Iron Fist in the comics or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what just happened. I don't think it's Colleen Wing, but I think they just did have a whole new Iron Fist. Because Iron Fist, so you guys know, is a mantle. It's not like it's just his name that he took, like how Charlie Cox has Daredevil, like, or how Matt Murdock's Daredevil, like Iron Fist, like Orson Randall. Did I say Orson Welles?
Orson Welles.
Orson Randall was.
Whoa.
Yeah. Orson Randall was the Iron Fist before Danny Rand. So
no, Orson Welles was the Iron Fist before Danny Rand. No, I think that's a good call. I think they will absolutely deploy Iron Fist into that Shang-Chi kind of realm.
They just need to improve the fight. I think they need to. They got to make him credible as the as the actual Iron Fist, and I think movie budget would help a little bit with because I think that's something that held it back too, was budget a little bit. Like, how are you supposed to display this Iron Fist? Which, I mean, shouldn't be too difficult because it's just a glowing fist. So
and then we have Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. What do you do?
Jessica Jones is probably at the bottom of the list for people they're going to reintroduce, but I think it honestly might be a little bit more simple, and that She-Hulk is probably the most simple solution for Jessica Jones.
I'd like that.
Yeah, because immediately she's credible there because she's a private investigator going against a lawyer, and she might be able to teach her a thing or two about being a
I'd like that a lot. As like a Jessica Jones is kind of a reluctant mentor, kind of disillusioned, where she's like, look, you don't want to be freaking doing this. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
I think that would be really great. I think Krista Ritter would be, obviously, I think she posted like an Instagram post or something about the show's coming to Disney Plus, and she was like Jessica Jones'd out. I think she'd be down to come back. I think that's a great spot for her. You know, I think with She-Hulk and Echo, I think they have a really nice way to bring these street level people in. Whereas I think the Punisher and Iron Fist, I think, are going to kind of go the other way.
Yeah, it's funny. They're like the two most difficult ones to kind of fit into these universes.
But I think Jessica Jones, I think your call with She-Hulk is a great call, and I think that's absolutely how I would use her as this, like, because you see the mentor thing, like, all the, like, we got a little bit of it in Hawkeye, like the reluctant mentor thing, but he wasn't like, you know.
He wasn't a jerk about it.
Yeah. Jessica Jones would be like, look.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
No. Just, no. Look, your cousin's the Hulk.
Right.
Friggin' good. Let him be the superhero. You don't need to be doing this.
Right.
I think that would be great for her.
And then brings us to Luke Cage, which is probably the most interesting, but I got an idea, and it's the idea I've been saying all episode.
Heroes for Hire.
Yes. Give us a tried and, because the Heroes for Hire comics were so popular in the 70s and 80s. Like, it was like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird being together. Like, it was perfect. Like, it's, like I said, I already made the comparisons to like how they bounce off of each other really well. We've seen it in cartoons. We've seen it in like, it works. Like, the two of them together, like, just
Power Man and Iron Fist.
Yeah. Wasn't one of the members of Wu-Tang already in Luke Cage?
Method Man.
Yeah, Method Man was already in Luke Cage. Like, you already have the blueprint to make the show great. Now you have a little bit more budget with Disney Plus. Like, have some fun. Like, these characters that have been so infused in like these, because Luke Cage was like, he was a prominent member of the New Avengers, like in the mid 2000s. Like, they finally are going to get their chance to be with these other heroes. Like, have the two of them, like, whatever happens in Shang-Chi 2, like, after that, have Luke Cage come back and have the two of them in Harlem, in New York, like, dealing with these issues. Like, literally being heroes for hire, like, odd jobs, like, because what would be cool if, like, what if, like, Kunlun was the city that doesn't survive, and, like, now he's, like, well, now I have to, now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And maybe at that point, maybe I just try to get my business back up, like, above level and, like,
and it's to the Punisher point and kind of the Daredevil point also, these characters deserve a chance to play in a sandbox that's not confined to just themselves, where it's just like Luke Cage and Daredevil, like, because they're the Defenders, but there's so many other people in the comic book Defenders that team feels weird and small compared to what, like you mentioned, the Punisher could go hang out with the Midnight Suns, with Moon Knight and Ghost Rider and Blade. Like, that would be cool as hell.
Yeah, like, he's the one without powers. That's just like, and he'd be like, I just want to see John Bernthal like out of his depth for a second, but also be like, oh, well, I can take care of myself too. Like,
Iron Fist and Luke Cage just doing things. Like, let these characters interact with other characters.
Right, Daredevil and Spider-Man taking on Kingpin for a little bit in a Spider-Man movie. Like, give me that.
That's what I think these characters and, all these actors deserve. I think they all, if they're going to bring these characters back, I think they all kind of deserve another crack at it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect. So that's where we think everybody's going to land.
What an era.
Yeah, what
Marvel
an era.
Netflix.
Yeah, Marvel Netflix was something. I mean, I basically based my personality. Just how everybody's basing their personality off Batman nowadays. I already did that with Daredevil back in the day. You guys took my whole flow.
So that's going to do it for us this week. You've been doing anything?
I'm getting on the Oscar flow. So we talked about it earlier. So next week we're gonna do the Oscars. I put my foot down and I said we're gonna get real pretentious next week, and we're gonna be more traditional movie reviewers next week.
Sure.
We're going to go outside the lines of fandom.
We'll go with that.
Go to the core. That's not the real reason.
I'm mostly just going to be like, yeah, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't wait because it's going to get to the category when it gets to visual effects when you're going to really get down to like the comedy bits.
I'm ready.
Yeah, because Free Guy's in there. Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, No Way Home are in there, so it's going to get real fun.
Dune?
But yeah, Dune's in there, and No Time to Die's in there. And let me tell you something. If Dune doesn't... I'll save it for next week.
I can't wait for the outrage. There's going to be outrage next week. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it in my bones.
Yeah. Twitter's going to get ignited on fire next week, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, yeah.
And it sucks because, like, obviously we're going to do all these things. But, I mean, I said it for countless episodes that we're moving away from like what makes movies. And it's funny because you just asked me if I was doing anything, and I just watched West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Never heard of him.
Ooh, you never saw Spider-Man No Way Home? You never heard of Steven Spielberg? Where you been? You got Oliver Queen. You got marooned on an island for a little bit, and you just came back. But yeah, you want to talk just... And I said it last week with like the Adam Project, like movies inspired from that. Like Spielberg, that Mount Rushmore of movie makers that like are the building block founding fathers. He needs to be there, and he just can't be moved off that list in my opinion because of what he's done. Like what he's done for modern day movie making. Like it's not even like the narratives he built, which again are incredible themselves, but it's like him as a like people like call people that like movies like Spielberg's, like that's like he's one of those building blocks for it. So just the way he directs is just incredible. Like and it's how he directs people, I think, is even more prevalent in this, and like how he directs movement and like camera movement in like inside the movie. Like it's like lessons every time and now in this new age, whenever he makes a movie, it just feels like a lesson, like something you can just show somebody that wants to make movies, be like, see how he does this, like study that. And that just goes true to like everything he's done. And like I told you like last week with the Adam Project and like how I felt that inspiration, I can like feel it from it. Like it's that journey into mystery that you take with films, especially like that 80s era of movies. Like it's like these little multiverses that are being built. Like it doesn't matter what movie it is. Like he really captures that, and like it's like the magic of movies of what Steven Spielberg does, and I think he does really well on West Side Story. Rachel Zegler is going to be an absolute megastar on this earth. I think this was her first. Like I think this was her coming out party. Enough to get her a Best Actress nom. She's 20. And she just played one of the most popular characters in theater. So I think she's going to be like just a star. I forget, what is her name? Anna Du Bois is amazing in this too. Everybody's really good. Again, it's just this magic of movie making that he never fails to amaze at. So really well done movie. Production design, great. Story, it's West Side Story, so everybody knows that, but yeah, just really, really well done, really well made movie.
Cool.
So if you thought, I'm gonna be like this, for all next,
this is like a preview. Of
this is the preview. What the heck have you been doing?
Nothing, man. I've dip my toe into Elden Ring, and I don't wanna.
You got beat up for a little bit.
I want to get out. I need to get out. I feel like one of the Hydra guys that was trapped in a room with Captain America. That's me playing Elden Ring. And every enemy I come across is like, before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Yep,
me. I do. That'd be me. That's me playing Elden Ring. But I'm having fun with it. The world designed by the Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin had a hand in designing the world, designing the story, which I think is cool. That guy is willing to do anything other than finish his book series. I relate to that. So, good on you, George R.R. Martin. Keep doing other things that aren't Game of Thrones related. I'm here for it. But that's all I've really been doing. Nothing else. So that's
X-Men is... You ever seen X-Men First Class?
Yeah, it's good.
It's a great movie. I think I'm going to add this segment where I just say something completely random at the end to sign us off. So, yeah, the clip just came up for X-Men First Class, and, like, that's just... Oh, man. That's, like... That's in my real... It's real high in my comic book ranking. I really like that movie. It just... I don't know the word to explain the... It's like you get a feeling from this movie.
It's real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love First Class a lot.
Yeah. Magneto's just...
Michael Fassbender is so good.
And Patrick Stewart.
Michael
Fassbender and James McAvoy just are perfect counters to each other in this.
Yeah. Get out of my head, Charles.
I'm trying to help you, Eric.
The famous line.
It's much like us. It's much like us. When you tell me that we're not going to do Daredevil, but then I say, what if we just do Marvel Netflix as a whole? And we did. Look at us.
Look at us. Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought?
We knew we'd get to this eventually.
Yeah. Does this mean we're not going to do a Daredevil tried and true review? Because please don't say that. Whatever Florence Pugh was saying in Black Widow, like when they were at the dinner table, like, don't say it was real to me. Like that. Yeah, that's me right now. It was real to me.
That was our Daredevil review. We're done.
No. I need this Echo show to come out so we can do a Daredevil preview before it.
That's when we're going to do that. For sure.
Thank God.
But until then, you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook, like our podcast on there. You can download our new episodes on every podcast platform imaginable. Apple, Spotify, wherever.
Pandora, iHeartRadio,
Facts.
Amazon, wherever you can find it. Your grandma's old radio station.
Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a coworker, tell that random guy in the street. That may or may not be Daredevil.
What is this? Oh, I was going to say, what is this, 1975? Just a random guy in the street. What's up, man? Just based on where we live, I don't think that would be...
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But next week, yes, Oscar season is upon us.
Yes.
The culmination. We're gonna talk about it. Can't wait.
I might wear a suit. We might need to physically record this.
Whoa.
And then I need to wear a suit for this.
But until then, signing off from me and the Foggy Nelson on the I'm kidding. the Matt Murdock on the podcast.
It's been 34 weeks in the making, but we finally got here. I thought you were going to give me Luke Cage, and that would have led into a whole other conversation. But I'll take it.
All right, guys. Next week for the Oscars. We will see you then. Goodbye.
Peace.